This woman is pretending to sleep until midnight. She quietly took away her husband's hand and gets up to call. He didn't wake up, so the sleeping pills worked. She goes to the bathroom and empties the water. She turns the camera to monitor her husband's state. She left the bedroom quietly. She goes to her husband's lab. She turns off all the monitors except the bedroom and disarmed the alarm system. Before leaving, she checked the safe that requires a password, which is dedicated to protecting a set of empty brackets. It's really weird. Without thinking much, she now needs to escape from this mansion. But as soon as she left the garage, the dog chased after her and wanted to go with him. The woman couldn't take him with her, so she had to help him remove the electric collar, but accidentally touched the car, which triggered a harsh anti-theft alarm. The lights of the villa also turned on one after another. The woman panicked and ran all the way over the wall and through the woods and came to a road. Sister's car arrived as promised. The woman got into the car in a hurry. At this time, her husband caught up. The sister, who was confused, was terrified and sped away. The man looked at the sleeping pill bottle on the ground and thought deeply. Half a month passed. The woman hid at her brother-in-law's house and doesn't want to go out. Her brother-in-law is a police officer. Staying at home made her feel safe. One day, she plucked up the courage to go to the door. She was scared to death by a morning runner, no matter how her brother-in-law asked. The woman just didn't dare to say what she was afraid of. Until this day, her sister brought good news. Her husband died. The suicide confirmed the news's authenticity. The woman was relieved. She finally revealed the reason for her escape. Her husband was a scientist in the field of optics and made contributions to human inventions. But under the glamorous appearance, he had a perverted heart. He had serious violent tendencies and a controlling nature. He controlled her clothing, diet, and even her thoughts. Once the woman refused to accept his control, she would be beaten. Even the dog at home couldn't escape. She was often electrocuted by the shock collar. What's worse, her husband recently wants a child. The woman knows very well the child would be controlled by this pervert and fall into a miserable life, which she couldn't accept. Fortunately, a month ago, she found a chance to contact her sister, as she risked to escape. Now her husband is dead. The woman no longer has to be afraid. She sold the house and welcomed the sunshine. Because her husband committed suicide, the woman received a huge inheritance of $5 million. According to the will, the money will be distributed at a rate of $100,000 per month. It will be paid out in 50 months. During this period, the woman cannot break the law or be considered mentally ill. That night, she transferred $10,000 to her brother-in-law to thank him for taking care of her. They opened a bottle of wine to celebrate. The previous torture and sadness all disappeared and happily welcomed the future happy life. The woman always felt strange. She always felt like there was something behind her. But when she turned around, there was nothing. The next day, something strange happened. As soon as she left, the kitchen knife fell by itself, and the stove fire suddenly grew bigger. At night, she heard someone breathing at the door of bedroom. She went out to look around. Maybe it was because of the sudden change of emotions. She was a little paranoid. In the middle of the night, the quilt was dragged away inexplicably. The woman was woken up by the cold. She got up to pick up the quilt, but the quilt seemed to be stepped on and was approaching her step by step.
James!
低息一连串 of strange thing made the woman think her husband was not dead. But there was no one in the room. Her brother-in-law thought he just hadn't come out of the shadow and hallucinations. The woman thought it made sense to get out of the shadow. She went to a company to apply for a job. She opened her bag. The interview works she prepared at home were gone. Suddenly, she felt dizzy and fell to the ground. The woman was rushed to the hospital. The test results came out soon. She had a large amount of sleeping pills in her body, but she never took sleeping pills. She only used it to deal with her husband that day. It's strange. That night, the woman just finished taking a shower. On the sink, appeared on the sink, the bottle of sleeping pills she used to deal with her husband. It seems that her husband was not dead. He is an optical scientist. He must have used some method to become invisible. The next day, he found his husband's brother and asked him to tell his brother not to play tricks. His brother looked puzzled. I saw his body with my own eyes. How could he not be dead? The box contains his ashes. To be honest, I also want him to die. Before you, I was always controlled by him. He was indeed very powerful. Not because he invented some invisibility technique, but because he knew how to drive people crazy. Even if he died, he can still torment you, making you think he was invisible. But there was no such thing. His purpose was achieved, making you scare yourself until you go crazy. The woman thinks it's not that simple. Everyone didn't believe him. He could only talk to his sister. But when his sister saw him, she looked disgusted and said a bunch of inexplicable words. Emily, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
The email you sent me this morning.
It turned out that he received an email from the woman, which were all insults to her. The woman was puzzled. When she got home and turned on her computer, sure enough, her account sent an email. The content was exactly the same as what his sister said, but this was not sent by herself. She became more and more convinced that her husband was not dead. Helpless, anxious, and scared, she lay on the ground and cried. Her brother-in-law's daughter came to comfort her.
Oh my God. Sydney, are you okay? Why would you just stop? Stop, Dad! No, no, Sydney, I didn't. No,
What happened? What happened? What?
No, James, I did not do that.
There are only two of them in the room. Normal people would think he did it. The brother-in-law thinks the woman is getting more and more insane. He took his daughter out and asked her to move out quickly. The woman figured it out. Her husband was trying to isolate her. She asked at the bedroom door that he had money and she could find a better one. Why does the woman have to pester me? Although no one responded to her, she firmly believed that someone was standing at the door. Then she thought of a way to call her husband. There was a vibration sound from the attic. She found a ladder and climbed up to the attic. Her husband's phone was indeed here. Not only that, the missing kitchen knife and the missing interviewer were also nearby. She opened her phone. There were photos of her sleeping these days. Then a text message came, which said, "Surprise." Suddenly, a sound came from behind her. The woman turned around in horror. She climbed to the stairway and looked down, but no one was there. But she clearly felt a breathing sound in front of her. She picked up the paint bucket next to her and poured it down. Instantly, a figure appeared. The woman was scared and backed away, but when she looked down again, Kuyin was gone, and the staircase was overturned. He jumped downstairs. He picked up the knife and followed the paint marks on the ground. The kitchen was broken. The tap was turned on, and the sink was full of the paint that had been washed down. He picked up the knife and wanted to fight, but he was outnumbered. He had no idea where to start. Suddenly, he was choked by the invisible man, unlocked his arms, and lifted him up and smashed him against the wall, dragged on the ground. The fight is not shown. The woman was always on the defensive. He didn't give up. He seized the opportunity to knock out the invisible mom. She ran out of the house and called a ride-hailing car instead of looking for his sister and brother-in-law, but went to a mansion 200 kilometers away. If the invisible man was her husband, then the mansion would be empty. She needs to find evidence of her husband's invisibility. Otherwise, no one would believe her. He asked the driver to wait at the door and went in alone, back to the long-abused villa. She was still scared. She went into the bedroom with courage. Everything is as usual. The dog greeted her warmly. Obviously, someone has been taking care of it all this time. The woman came to the laboratory, looked at the strange safe room with an empty bracket. There must be something wrong. She tried to enter her husband's usual password. She guessed it right. She walked in. The bracket looked empty, but she could actually feel something inside. There is a screen next to it. Click to unlock. A set of clothes appeared, which is covered with high-precision cameras. This is the invisibility cloak developed by her husband. Then the dog started barking wildly. Someone is coming. He took off the invisibility cloak and hid in a closet, but he was still discovered. Seeing footprints on the carpet, he pushed it with all his strength. The dog also ran over and barked at the air. The woman took the chance to run out of the villa and took a ride-hailing car. He called his sister, and she must come out to meet him no matter what. His sister heard that he was nervous and agreed to meet at a restaurant. The woman told how she found the invisibility cloak, but just halfway through, a knife on the table flew into the air. The woman became a murderer because she shouted that her husband was the murderer. The invisible man was sent to the hospital as a lunatic because she was emotional. The doctor gave her a sedative before she passed out. She heard a familiar voice again. Surprise! When the woman woke up, the police came to interrogate her. When asked why she killed her sister, she didn't answer. She told her brother-in-law, "I have something."
I have something that'll prove he's alive. I found it.
What do you have?
I can't tell you. I can't. He's listening. He's in the room, James.
You're saying that the person who killed your sister is in the room? Like, no, we can't see him.
Once he said this, everyone believed that he was insane. The brother-in-law blamed himself and thought that he drove him away cruelly. That led to this result. A few days later, a suffocating news came. The woman was pregnant. She had secretly taken birth control pills. It seems that her husband secretly replaced it. She was very broken and didn't want to be a tool anymore. After calming down, the woman came up with a plan. She hid a payee to commit suicide. She knew her husband wouldn't let the child be harmed. She stabbed her wrist with a pen. Sure enough, an invisible hand grabbed her.
There you are.
The security guard heard the sound and rushed over. The invisible man's clothes were damaged, appearing and disappearing. He was Guang Dianyu. The security guard wanted to escape. The number of guards who came to support was large, but they had never seen a person who could be invisible. They had no idea where to start. The invisible man killed the guards and escaped from the mental hospital. This is exactly what the woman wanted to see. He picked up a gun and chased after him, but he overestimated his abilities and was easily subdued by the invisible man. He didn't kill the woman. Instead, he told her that since you want to fight me, I'll kill all your closest people first. Let's start with your brother-in-law's daughter. Then he disappeared. The woman was panicked and rushed to her brother-in-law's house and called her brother-in-law. Soon, the door of the brother-in-law's house was open. Mei sensed something unusual and remembered what the woman had said. The invisible man took a pepper spray and sprayed it. She screamed and ran out of the bedroom, but was still caught by the invisible man. At this time, the brother-in-law came back. Although he was well-trained, but the advantage of invisibility was too great. He was defeated in a few rounds and completely lost his combat effectiveness. In the critical moment, the woman arrived. She used a fire extinguisher to make the invisible man visible and then shot him several times to kill him. The woman took off her hood and was shocked. The invisible man was not her husband, but her husband's brother. What's going on? On the other side, the police found the imprisoned husband in the basement. It turned out that it was all his brother's doing. He faked his husband's death and used the invisibility cloak invented by her husband. The case was solved. The woman called her husband, saying that since he was also a victim, she was willing to go back and live with him. That night, the woman dressed up beautifully. She returned to the villa for dinner with her husband. The husband was excited to be a father. Her husband was very excited and used it. He cried to the woman about the pain of being imprisoned. He was planning the happy life of the three of them. But as he spoke, he said a mantra, surprise. Hearing this sentence, the woman confirmed her thoughts. She used the excuse to go to the bathroom and cried very sadly. Everyone believed that her husband's brother was the murderer, but only the woman knew. Things were not that simple. Her husband's brother was just controlled to be a scapegoat. Finally, the husband at the table suddenly raised a knife and slashed his throat and committed suicide, which was caught on the camera. The woman came out of the bathroom and saw the blood. Her husband, she was panicked and broken. She picked up her phone to call the police, crying and backing away until she was out of the camera's range. She instantly put away her panic and said surprise to her dying husband. It turned out that the woman had hidden the invisibility cloak in the bathroom. She put on the invisibility cloak to create the illusion of suicide. She returned to the bathroom. She took off the invisibility cloak and performed in front of the monitor again. The movie ends here. The Invisible Man, released in 2020, is a science fiction horror film. The atmosphere in the first half is still a bit scary, but knowing that it was a person wearing the cloak, it's not that scary. If you like this kind of theme and are not too timid, the original film is worth watching. If you're timid, then you can skip it. If you have a set of this kind of invisibility cloak, what would you use it for?